committees real quick. Good morning. Welcome to Street Sanitation and Airport Committee. Present today are Councilman Hackett and Councilman Clay. I have Public Works Director Troy Kruger, Street Supervisor and Sanitation Supervisor Kelly Duffy, Airport FBO Dave Howard, and Finance Officer Chandra Phillips present. I will turn this meeting over to Troy and let you direct us how you would like to get through this.
All right. Well, first of all, everyone has a handout. Chandra's kind of written up a summary of budgeting so far and where we're at for the year. We could hop right in to sanitation, I guess. Not a whole lot of wiggle room in sanitation. We got the big axe here today, Jeremy Clay. So, have at us, Clay. Just so you know, I mean, Clay cut over $400,000 out of the electric budget, and then Parks and Cemetery only got like $400 taken out of it. So I just a little recap on the comparison of, right, Jeremy?
That's good.
They didn't cut much out of it.
No, that's good.
There's not a lot there to cut in Parks and Rec.
Are we still at the 5% on payroll?
So payroll, normal payroll, personal services for all budgets are at 6.75. Your streets and sanitation departments do still include the 5% for CDL bumps, as well as the 6.75. Did I say 6.75? Okay.
So we asked for a, earlier in the budgeting process, we asked for a bump for streets and sanitation and water and sewer. And that was started out as a 2.5% for a Class B CDL and 5% for a Class A CDL, which at the time the committee just said straight 5% for a Class A CDL. So that is still in your, that's still in your salaries for streets and sanitation.
For those 4 departments, it's a $55,000 a year difference, just FYI.
So I'll start it off then. Sorry. I'm not completely opposed to that. There's been some discussion about that aspect, but the budget doesn't support it this year, so. Again, sorry, but I didn't see that.
That was from the axe. Anything?
Tough budget year this year. And I'm probably gonna have to concur with the axe this year.
We changed your name, thank
I think that's a name that possibly could stick.
Sorry. I've always supported giving council or giving committee pay raises, employees pay raises over buying a piece of equipment. We gotta get our people to where they need to be, but, budget does not allow that this year, and budget does not allow purchasing things that are not absolute needs either.
Going on down in your sanitation budget, we can look at individual numbers, but just to cut to the chase on some of the bigger stuff, we will still have a contract in place for the hauling, which will equate to about $46,000 a year. And we will still have our contract in place with River Bottom Sanitation, which I think the new number on that is about 409. We have 420 in there. Is that 409 more accurate? I think it's about $33,000 but I, probably be,
It's been averaging at 53 for 2 months anyway.
probably be safe to say, keep the 420.
That comes to 396. If it's 33,000 over 12 months, it's 396.
And then our tipping fees out at the, in Puckwana at the landfill are 100,000. So this budget, right now does not balance, but with the swing in personal services, it will balance. It'll be very tight, but it will balance.
Okay. Just nothing we can do there.
Streets, however, has a lot of room to play with. So we'd be taking the 5% out of personal services and streets.
Repairs and maintenance, what's happening there? In 2023, we had 5,000 budget, and we've spent 26,000, 27,000.
We had some major breakdowns.
Also the fence.
Oh,
It's $22,000 to repair that entire fence. They weren't able to come till April of this year. Your insurance did replace that, the fence around the shop. Was it 22?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this 26 will be going down then in the 23 activity of repairs and maintenance?
I mean, I can tell you what they spent this year as far as their operational, that's questions for them.
You were just saying there's some reimbursement came or?
It already came.
Okay.
It would have already come.
So that 26, 27 is still.
We've had a lot of, actually, we've had a lot of repairs and maintenances. We've had some big bills this year. We had to have the transmission redone
The grader.
in the grader. That was
Third.
12,000 or something like that. It was 16,000.
Yeah, like 15.
And then, I've got an $8,000 bill on my desk for the snow blower that we still have to pay. A lot of equipment, so a lot of repairs and maintenance.
Some people say this winter's gonna be a repeat. But you never know.
Yeah. Plan for the worst, hope for the best.
There is a moisture trend there.
That's a topic we'll get into here in a minute, but we'll stay on track for now. Basically in streets, you got your big projects, mill and overlay again, 600,000, mill and grind 60, curb and gutter 100,000. Those are your, that's basically your projects for 2023.
Did we get a contract from the Diamond Grind people or both?
No guarantee. If they said they would, if they came back, which they're going to do the same thing that they did this year from, I believe, from Cologne to Gregory. And at that time, they said they would talk to us about it, but if we just tried to bid it out, just mobilization alone would be probably more than we have budgeted.
Right. They're Diamond Green,
Yeah.
Cologne to Gregory next year's plan.
Yeah.
My question about the budget line, we have $60,000 in 2023 budget that we're not gonna use because they're not here. We got $60,000 in 2024 budget. Can we take out the 2024 and encumber the 23, 60,000?
Depends on what their bottom line ends up looking like at the end of the year. I can't promise you that.
thinking along the right lines. I thought that I had. The other-
It won't get spent. I mean,
Do you know when we will have the conversations with that company about them doing Main Street? Will it be in April where we would have enough time to do a supplemental budget and we can encumber whatever's to be encumbered, but then you could use unappropriated cash if we have that conversation early enough?
it'll go, I believe DOT bids their stuff out in like September, so it'll be coming up,
This year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be coming up for bids again. Whoever gets it, we can approach that company and ask them if they'll do it when they're here. That's about the best we can do.
Yeah.
Shannon, what your answer is, if we get to the end of 2023 and there's at least $60,000 left in the streets budget line, so yes, we can encumber those to 2024, as long as the budget still has that much money left in it. You won't spend that $60,000. The streets budget will have at least $60,000 left in it, and you're not gonna spend that line, right?
Yep, should have. I mean,
So then we can.
we don't have
take
any
out-
plans for it.
Then we can take out the 2024 $60,000 and encumber the 60,000.
I have a really hard time saying that, because you already know that you've gotta use contingency just for the mill and overlay. So if you don't, so you'd have to make sure you transfer the
this.
full, yeah, so you're already planning to spend more than what the streets budget is currently.
Yeah.
Because of the mill and overlay. The other thing is, if you look at their repairs and maintenance, they have 37,000 total budgeted in repairs and maintenance, they're at 32,000 as of the end of June. Supplies, they have 35,800 budgeted, they've already spent 47,914. So I can't promise you they'll have it remaining if you wanna
Okay.
budget accordingly.
I'm sorry, I can't promise that we can mill and grind next year either, but I mean diamond grind.
Quite. It goes back to Plan B. I like the idea of encumbering, but if the DOT, South Dakota DOT, lets their bids and we know this company's coming back,
I understand.
then that becomes a conversation where instead of tying this up, 60,000 in the budget, you can leave it in unappropriated cash. Have the conversations with your public works director after he has. Take a look at what the finance officer's final numbers are at the end of the year. This is something that can be done next year after that conversation. And then you decide, and the public will help you decide.
It's a need, there's
You
no
know-
doubt. Drive down Main Street, it's a need, it's been a need for several years.
Yes.
You know what else is a need? Getting our budget to balance.
Yes, I agree. But remember this, unappropriated cash is good. I don't mind having the reserves to do the needs once we know that somebody's coming. We're not a bank, those are taxpayer dollars to be spent. And at that time, if the bid is let, Kelly and Troy have had conversations with this company after, or whatever company after the bid letting. Troy brings up a good point about mobilization. Then you have more information that you can make a decision with at that time. A real intelligent decision. And going from 1.9 unappropriated cash, spending 60 to take it to 1.84 million is probably a good decision because you've said it's a need. All you're doing is giving yourself time to take in more information before that. I'm okay with either direction that you go, council. I just think you have a couple options that are available to you in this decision-making process. Troy needs time to find out who is coming. Chandra needs time to find out what the final unappropriated cash. It gives you more for your decision-making, more information. I like your thought process though, Axe. Elon Musk has got X, formerly Twitter. City of Winter has the Axe.
So,
I'm
if
concerned
you,
about your supplies lines, though.
yeah, I have their up-to-date supplies. They're over in a couple of different deals. Their
Right.
repairs and maintenance is way over, their supply line is way over. Not where it's like, it's not gonna hurt Kelly, he'll be fine, but, if you slide up to, so basically right now, the only two projects that we really have planned for next year, based on how the budget turns out, is we're gonna do some more crack sealing and we're gonna do some chip sealing. And we have $50,000 in there for chip sealing. We got miscellaneous concretes at 55. Concrete crushing is at 40,000. They're like that 40,000 for concrete crushing. We don't have to do that. That's just that's a want.
Appreciate it. See how it feels just to get something. It's much easier.
AC mix, we cut that back to 25,000. To date, I think we've only spent,
It says 25,000 currently.
yeah, well, 2 years ago, 2022 was at 50. So last year was at 25, this year it's at 25 again. I think, on my sheets, I have I have what we paid for the AC mix, and it was like, I think we've spent like 5,000 to date or something like that. But that's
Last year or this year?
this year so far.
Because it looks like in 2022, you budgeted 50 and spent 66.
Yep.
In 23, you budgeted 25 and you spent 5.
But yeah, we're right around that, we're under $10,000 again. So, that AC mix is, what that is it's like cold mix in the winter for filling potholes. And then if we go and get any hot mix to do just like cutouts and street repairs, things like that. So,
So that's not a product that will keep, that you can use your $25,000. The cold mix in the wintertime, but the hot mix, that don't keep.
no,
But what I'm trying to get is, you got 25,000 in your budget for 23 and you spent 10.
still
So
less than 10.
So far.
are you gonna have excess, if you spend all that 25, will they give us some relief in the 24 budget, is what I'm trying to ask.
What I'm saying is if you,
It's a maintenance, like up in Joy's area, we've still got 3 dig outs to do up there yet to finish before this winter, so them come up, water breaks come up.
What were you saying?
we've underspent, is what I'm saying, in the last couple of years, so that's another, I'm just looking at places where we can shave. That's another one probably where you could shave another 10,000 off that, we'd be fine.
I wrote down 10,000, maybe we could save on that.
Bring it down.
You answered the question I was trying to get to. So you're comfortable with AC mix at what number?
15?
What about chip seal?
We're setting pretty good on chips right now. We've purchased quite a few chips this year, so,
Okay, there, just,
the 50,000 that we have in there for chip seal, that we plan on using that money. We've got 10th Street, Polk, half a Lamb Row, and 13th, a couple blocks on 13th that we've had asphalt down on those streets for 3 years now. We're crack sealing them right now, so they're due for a chip seal. So now you're back to your big numbers, your mill and overlay, your mill and grind, and your curb and gutter.
So, can you give a little on your chip seal? You got 25 and 20 in 2023, you're gonna spend all of that this year? Or is that purchasing chips, or is that the actual process of chip sealing?
no,
That's the whole process, the chips and the oil.
Because in 2022, you had 50, spent none apparently. 2023, you have 25 and haven't spent any yet. But
We do have, if we can get the oil, because we've been using a company out of Vermillion. And I've talked to them a couple times this year, but I haven't gave them a definite yes or no that we're gonna do anything. We do have a couple of streets. We do have some areas though that need to have some, they're blotter streets that are getting in pretty bad. 7th Street being one, east of Highway 18. That's getting pretty bad. That kind of got tore up a little bit during the construction phase. And then Jackson Street, we'd like to put another lift on Jackson Street because that's really a nice street and it just needs one more lift of recycle and another double chip on it. And we were going to use some of that in the cemetery. But next year, what you're asking is the $50,000 going to all get spent on chip sealing next year? I don't know if we'll be able to get what we want to get done for $50,000 next year. That'll be really tight.
Much like our budget.
Much like our budget.
So the 2020, the 25 and 2023, 25,000 in 2023, you're gonna use all of that this year, or is it a time frame thing?
It could be used for other things so that we don't overspend.
Okay.
Because he's overspent in a couple other lines.
I hear you.
To date, you're at $19,020.
Other chips.
Yep. Your AC mix is at 4383.
You basically have $760,000 of big project stuff, so if that's your cut right there. Honestly, I don't know the answer. I mean, do we have streets that need attention? Yes. Do we have a curb and gutter that needs attention? Yes. Can we afford to spend $1 million every year? No. Probably not.
Need to, yes.
But, I mean, we're always looking at other practices. I know the gutter. I don't know the answer yet, but we're looking at maybe buying our own machine at some point in time so we can do curb and gutter on our own because it is an expensive project. I mean, what we're doing this year for $100,000 is basically two blocks. That is not a lot of curb and gutter. But there's a lot else involved in curb and gutter than just curb and gutter, and that's driveway aprons and approaches and radiuses and all that other good stuff. That's where it gets, it's tough to.
I'm not banging on you guys personally, Kelly and Troy. You guys are doing a great job. It's just dollars. That's all.
But you'll hear me say the same thing tomorrow. I'll tell you the same thing now. We have had a ton of projects on our plate. Seems like the last 2 years with the electricals, totally upgrading all the electrical meters. We're totally upgrading all the water meters again. The highway project has been a huge time consumer for the water department and the street. That will hopefully, I know it's not going to be done this year, but hopefully 90% done. But I mean, if there was a year to take a break from being heavy project, 2024 would be a year to take a break because we need to wrap up a lot of stuff. I need to wrap up the water meters thing. I need to wrap up the electric meter thing. We need to get those things done, in place, 100% implemented. Kurt's got to wrap up his underground project out there by Britton Addition so we can go forward with that curb and gutter on that. But that's not looking like it's gonna all be done and ready to go in 2024 until we can't really do anything with that street until he's done with his underground. But that might be a place where we could come back and ask you sometime in 2024 if you guys can give us the money to do that. But I can't really make plans to do it right now. We've got that ditch relining project, we have got to get that done. That's over there on Plum Street, where the street is falling in the ditch, literally. We got to get that done this fall, early next spring. We have to get that done. That's been a really bad holding water and weeds and rushes and mosquitoes, and we got to get that wrapped up. So we could use a year of wrapping up projects. Just
Maintenance.
So
finish
you're asking us.
finish everything we started.
$600,000 out of your budget then?
I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just telling you that the mill and overlay it's 2 weeks. It's really not that big of a deal. We'll mill, we actually start today, and we'll mill probably today, tomorrow, depending upon what time they get here. But we'll probably mill for about 3 days. And then the actual hot mix crew's coming in on the following Monday. And last year it took us less than a week. We did almost 30 some blocks, so this year it's back to 26 blocks. So it's basically a 2-week deal. It's not a huge deal, but like right now, we're trying to get crack sealing done, and but it just, everything just, we didn't know. That's one thing about the mill and overlay. We never know. We're working with them as far as when they can make it happen for us. We're the last on the list to get done. This year, they are kind of wrapping up there by Presho, and from what I understand, they're going to move their plant. They're going to move it up here by White, someplace up there for a project for a couple projects that are going to happen in the next couple of years. So they're going to stay local. That's good for us because we can maybe get a couple more big projects done with those guys before they go back to Minnesota or wherever they came from. But like this year, they just called up and said, "Hey, we're coming. We're going to be there." I didn't really expect them until September, like they've been coming, and so we're right in the middle of crack sealing. We got another about 1 week of crack sealing left to get done, so the crack sealing is getting put on hold, and we're going to do mill and overlay, but a lot of projects. I like the way things are happening, though. I mean, we started the crack sealing this year. We're going back and we're getting those streets that we overlaid 3 years ago, and we're bringing them up to speed. We'll get a chip seal on them, and then hopefully those streets won't need much attention for 10 or 15 years. And that's a pretty solid maintenance program on your streets right there.
It's coming.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about that. The mill and overlay really gets attention of the public. It's a good thing. It makes our streets passable, very nice. But, so, they're going to be at White for a couple years, you said?
Sounds like it.
Okay, so if we don't mill and overlay next year, they're still gonna be in the neighborhood, because we've talked a lot about that. If they're still in the neighborhood or not.
Yeah, I don't know what, and I really haven't talked to anyone from DOT, like, to see, there's been a lot of projects in our area, like 183 and the stuff they did to the east of here. I don't know what's gonna be bid out, like if there's gonna be any more major projects coming up in our area that will hold those guys here. I heard that, well, you told me Morris moved their plant now.
Yeah. They went that way. I wonder if they won't do the same thing they did from here to Cologne, asphalt the shoulders. That'll be another project.
That would be it.
I'm assuming,
But
not,
imagine it would be the same.
yes, I'm assuming that. So there will be somebody around.
Next year.
Yes.
I don't wanna say that we should not do any milling and overlaying, cause we've got a couple streets right up here. There's about 3 blocks right up here where there's getting to be more weeds in the street than there is anything else. That's just bad. That's not good. You're on the verge of, of the whole street being,
Half.
there's,
What amount do you think you can handle? What can your budget support?
these are some things that we've discussed. These are some things that we've talked about as being alternative options to doing a big bunch of, doing like 30 blocks is you got these concrete streets around this building in front of CCI. It's not very many blocks, but the milling part of that, and you got parking spaces on both sides. So that's a super wide street, kind of like what got us last year with the downtown area doing a lot of those streets.
Won't this be a diamond grind though, these concrete streets?
No, they can actually mill those. They can mill off 2 inches of concrete. It's cost about 3 times what it costs to get asphalt street milled off, but they can do it. And then we could just put a 2-inch lift of asphalt over top of that concrete, which is that's a good street. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that street. That's what a lot of these streets that have lasted so long, right up here in this neighborhood, Van Buren going up, Polk going up, Monroe going up, those were all concrete streets at one time. And then they just overlaid them with asphalt, and they lasted 25, 30 years. So
Because it's a solid base.
you got a good solid base underneath it. So that's, in these streets that are right around this office, Monroe from the highway up to the post office. On the other side of the highway, that's 3 blocks you got right there, plus you got the parking spaces. You got this 1 block here. That's a possibility to do those.
Here catches a lot of traffic. That's
Yeah,
Yeah, it's bad. It's not
probably worse than.
It's not getting any worse, but it's not, there's some parking spaces down here in the first block from the highway to 3rd Street where it's starting to deteriorate and it's just crumbling away. So we were talking about doing something with that this fall. We gotta put something in there because it's not even, you wouldn't wanna ride over that with a bicycle, put it that way. But that's an alternative. Just doing some asphalt streets on a lesser scale. We got a couple of those streets right up here that definitely need to be done, and some over on the east side of town. Plum Street out there where we gotta do that ditch, that street's a mess. Something's gonna have to be done with that. It's falling apart because it's sliding in the ditch, no gutter left.
How many blocks will we do this year?
It's 26s, I think.
How many did we do last year, Kelly?
It was
50?
It was a pile.
50 or 51?
50, yeah, 51, wasn't it? We did a good chunk.
How about 2021?
We was back down to that.
We were down in
I think we
20.
did 24, 25. Let's see.
Yeah.
I think we did 25, 26 maybe again. We'll say 24.
The year before, 2020, we did 7th Street from 18 to Country Club.
Oh, 2020, 18. Oh, from 7th Street Country Club?
From the Highway 18 up to Country Club, we did,
That was in
We stopped
18.
at,
I think that was in 2020.
2018, all we did was West 7th Street.
Yep.
And by Elder and Jack Front's neighborhood, didn't we look at 18 to put that
That's
down?
what, that was all.
It is a big project, but yeah, we just, that 7th Street went back, and we just put a quick little thing on it or something.
yeah,
And then we were over on the hospital end of
Yeah.
that.
It was the same year we did,
So we
did a couple blocks there.
same year we did A Street project with the sewer and the water and
That
everything.
was in 18.
yeah,
So we got a couple new, we got about 3 blocks of new street out of that project.
7 total blocks that year, 6.
There's a couple other ones that they did for really cheap for us too.
It's getting to be a lot. I got the map in my office of all the streets that have either been, they're new, they're mill and overlaid. Or they were done before I became Public Works Director, which, you know, I went back about 10 years. And there's not a whole lot of streets. I mean, we're really putting a dent in the streets.
hundred and 37 blocks is my estimate in 5 years, based on what you've said.
What's your arbitrary number, Troy? Dollars, mill and overlay.
Dollars for next year? I guess it totally depends on what we need to balance the budget, really. I mean, all we have left is water and sewer and
Jail,
the jail.
enforcement.
We only have 2 committees left to meet after this one.
Sounds like you need a little bit.
Sewer's not gonna have a lot of wiggle room. Water, you know, and then water's basically, you know, water doesn't have near the budget the streets does.
Jody, you said corrections is pretty thin already, isn't it? There's gonna be,
Yeah, I would,
Very thin.
a lot of those cuts are in.
it kind of appears to me that Parks has a little bit of room yet.
Listen,
Parks is pretty tight.
Are they?
I still think your streets cost you more if you don't do them next year and wait the year before. It's gonna cost you 10%, 5% more to
There's
do
no
them.
doubt about that.
So we set out 5 years ago to put streets 325 blocks on a 15-year rotation. Water, we set out to do 12 blocks a year, put them on a 30-year rotation of redoing our water lines in the city of Winter, which is about the life of it. With the sewer relining, doing about 20 blocks a year. I think that's what we used to get out of HydroClean.
Yeah.
We had that on a 15-year rotation. That was our maintenance plan, to take care of our needs that are dilapidating now and to put them on our rotation. That's still my plan, to get there. If it cost us 26,000 a block,
Last year was about 23, 20, 22 and a half, 23 a block.
So
It's gonna go up this year.
it'd be-
Actually, I think they gave us the same price this year as they gave us last year. 153 a ton, which was, I was surprised at that. The grinding went up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we need to, before we get, I think you can earmark this one, but I think there's a lot of other areas I'd like to see if you look there first before you cut infrastructure. And I think there are cuts, from what I've seen come through, that weren't made that still could be made in other areas, and that's where we need to take this 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks, to get to the 24th, look at it. There we are, 14.
Yep.
We have 10 days to take a look at the rest of them, next year to analyze it, sit down on the retreat, and it might come down to that day where you're still, this might be a part of it. You might go from 600,000 to 500,000.
Can we shut the streets to the end of the day then?
Yeah, we can.
I hear what you're saying, Jody.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable to cut, it's just not comfortable to do any of the cuts.
No.
And we all love new streets, but
Absolutely.
we have a fiduciary responsibility to our citizens.
I'm just saying, Jeremy,
Yeah.
I think there's other areas.
There's other things that we haven't seen.
Yeah. Yes,
We'll schedule streets later in the day then, if you could.
we can. Certainly can. Again, going back to what I said earlier, that gives council more information before you have to make this, gives you a bigger, better picture.
I have a question on your curb and gutter. If you plan to put it out for bid for the same amount as you have the last 2 years, like this year came in, you only have 100,000 budgeted, and if they do the amount that's approximated in there, it's gonna be a total of 123,500. So if that's what you're planning to do again next year, it's obviously not gonna be cheaper, so is 100,000 really what should be in there, or should that go up?
We should go
Well, if we keep it under $100,000, we don't have to put it out for bids next year. We could actually just
Do quotes.
get quotes and hire somebody to do what we want to do, which was kind of my thinking on that. Don't get contracted into a project for next year. But your curb and gutter probably next year is probably going to go up. No doubt about that.
The 100,000 that got us 2 blocks will get more expensive. We'll get a block and a half.
Those two blocks of Adams Street were,
Needed.
they were bad, yeah, but it was heavily, there's a house on almost every, there's almost four or five houses on every block, so that's a lot of driveway approaches, that's a lot of handwork, so that is why that project got pretty expensive. I mean, we could bid out a piece of 7th Street, like you can go up to 7th Street if that was the case, if that's something that needed it. You can go 3 blocks on one side of the street without a single approach in it. That's a whole different, that's gonna come in a whole different price than all this handwork that he's having to do on Adams Street, but there's a lot of curb and gutters also getting to the point where, it's almost, there's just a lot of bad spots that need to be fixed, not any long length of curb and gutter, but you drive around town, you see what, there's 50 feet of, it's sank, and now the water's holding right there, and that's something that's gotta be fixed, cause that'll ruin your street faster than anything. If the gutter's not running the water and it pools, then you're gonna have problems with your asphalt or your concrete, so there's starting to be a lot of places where it's almost gonna be like $100,000 of miscellaneous concrete.
I would be curious in options. We've talked about some. We've seen some different pieces of equipment in different departments that would work. What would work for curb and gutter, and I'm not asking this week, but I think council, if you can find some.
That's what Kelly and I have talked about it multiple times since we started this project on Adams Street, because with the forming and everything, hand forming all the, there's got to be a different option out there. We need to research that and find out. Don't get it stuck in your head, you gotta pick on Parks, Axe.
Oh, airport's coming up.
Not a lot to do in there, is there?
We're gonna double that.
Here's kind of what, we talk about this all the time, but Parks is a little scary because some of his seasonal help is, we don't know how much longer they're gonna be active members of the team down there, and so we're looking at more efficient ways to get more done with less people. Because summer help is 75 days out of the year, and then out of those, this year we were fortunate enough to have a really good crew of 8 kids, super good crew, probably one of the best ones we've seen in a long time. But now it started raining again, and they're busy right now.
Goodness, no.
375 and Yep, I will get them all corrected today and send that to you today. Or that Wednesday.
Sure, just so you know, probably today looking at things got $225,000. So that's progress. That gets you closer to the end goal. Let's take this week to see how things shape up.
Any more, are we done with streets and sanitation?
I believe we are. No, it's on the airport.
So we're gonna talk budget first, and then we are gonna shut the camera off because we need to discuss contract, which under SDCL, that's executive session.
And first, I'm gonna give them up.
Okay. It's a $40,000 total budget. So just FYI, it's not like, you're not looking at millions here, except Dave did say he wanted to double it, so you're still not looking at millions.
That's only $80,000.
Insurance, there's not really much you can do there. It's all just our bare minimum insurance. Property, we knew was going up. Repairs and maintenance, there's not a ton out there. Repairs and maintenance wise, it's if the tractor breaks down and he's gotta go get some, or the lawnmower breaks down. So some years it's high, some years it's low. You just don't always know. Mowing and snow removal. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a little while, but right now, per contract, our FBO can do mowing on the main area and can charge that back to the city. There is a cap on mowing of $4,500. And that was actually, that portion, that addendum was renegotiated last year. And then there is also for light snow removal, sidewalk snow removal, all of that, that's in the contract as well, that he can bill the city back for that. Any large snow removal, we have provided him with a truck to put snow in, a dump truck, an old dump truck, right? And then he's got a tractor loader, snow blower out there too. Of which, if he does any of that, he has the ability to bill the city back to. Right now, it's capped at $4,000. He came really close to that. The majority of it was December of last year.
I didn't think the snow removal was capped.
You're right, it's not. You're correct. Snow removal is not capped. I apologize.
And I don't quite know why the grass is capped either, because we don't control the rain.
You don't.
What your mowing, $4,500, is that your, whose mower is it?
We use both, but the city does have a mower.
Oh, you do have a city mower out
We
there.
have one city mower. And we use ours quite a bit too.
Because, I mean, we're talking about surplus and a couple mowers out of parks for sure this year, so that's an option for another mower.
Yeah.
Consultant line, you'll see that for the last, well, actually, you won't see that, but it's been the same for 10 years. Dave came to us in 2014. Consultant line has not changed since 2014. I believe that was even the same price we were paying the previous FBO. Jeremy, you were on the committee 6 months ago when he originally approached and asked for a $50 increase per month. So it's $500 per month right now. He asked for a $50 increase. At that time, it was also suggested to add CPI into the contract, same as our other contracts. But again, that'll be part of negotiations. Supplies at $1,900. Annual memberships, he only has one annual membership, and that's through SDML, and that's for the Airports Association. He has no uniforms. He does still use Akira to do his rugs and stuff in the shop. Fuel and gas this year kind of ate him up. I do have those reports, as you asked what all was being charged to that. The tractor, and I think maybe, I don't know, I have to find that out.
What price is everybody budgeting fuel at next year?
I don't know that anybody's chosen anything. I gave my suggestion. I have not heard an official answer yet.
Your suggestion?
Yep, that was like a month ago. And I don't
What
remember
was
what
it?
it was. I'm sorry.
375?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Travel, conference, and school. There's one. Yep, the airport conference he goes to every year. This does not include his spending money when he goes to Deadwood. This is just for the room and the fuel. Utilities, again, they're predicting this winter to be the same as last winter, and propane ate us alive out there. It was insane how much propane we went through in December, January, and February. And how much, and it was electricity too. I mean, we can see it on the back end with the city too. There was a lot of electricity used as well. But the only other thing in there is $1 for the van from the finance admin building. You don't have to put $1 in there. I know we discussed this last week. I believe you were here for that one, Jeremy. Is it, the van's been paid for 10 years. Is it worth putting $1 amount on it? Is it Do we just move it over? There's been a lot of discussions back and forth on that. It's not that the finance office paid for it and gave it to the airport as soon as we paid for it. It's gotten use out of it for the 10 years that we've owned it. So. In fact, with hunting season coming up, he already has it. So. With that being said, you throw his revenues in there, he's gonna make $49 next year.
What's the van for? What's the use for the van?
That's yours.
Courtesy car.
Oh, okay.
Anybody flies in out there, they might need lifted in town.
The only request that I had, Dave, was that we graphic it from city.
That's fine with me.
They're gonna be $49.
We'll pay for that this year. Yeah.
But just a little note on the van, we've had it for 3 days. Our courtesy car, out aviation has provided one for the last 9 years. Has a mechanical issue right now, so it came at a good time. But,
Did it come with a full tank of gas?
it did not. I think that's what-
I said as is.
The point is, it came with a half tank of gas. It was used by at least 2 individuals. And I moved it this morning and it had a full tank of gas. So pilots typically, if they use something, many times they're gonna fill it up. So I don't even know if we need to even worry about putting gas in. So, and I don't know, I think it was the people from Montgomery Furniture that flew in to visit his sister. And they probably are the ones that filled it up. But there was a member of the South Dakota Pilots Association that was here for us to do some work on his airplane, and he took it too, so someone filled it up. So that's not gonna be an issue.
I'll be honest, when he came and got the van, I did not look at it. I did not, because I wasn't planning it until January of next year. My office has not used that van for 2 years. We've had other departments that have used it for training, knowing that I did pay for the side thing on the van that came off one time when somebody else was using it. But that's ultimately why I wanted it at the finance admin building. It's costing me money and I'm not using it. So if Dave can use it, awesome. And yes, we'll get some graphic for it too. Again, it wasn't planned until January. I'm glad it's working. We'll get that taken care of. But, yeah. Otherwise, since we're running out of time, are you guys okay to go off camera and talk contract? Unless you want to do some cutting, Jeremy. Or Joe, sorry. Don't want to leave you out, Joe.
Thank you.
Almighty ass.
Well, wait a minute before you go off air. But, I think we need to have this conversation about our snow removal out at the airport. Last year we had a lot of snow. Time consuming deal. Like the snow blower that we have right now, is sitting in Yankton. I had it gone through, all the bearings, everything all new in it. It did not do a real good job of cleaning off the airport runway with the snows that we had last year. That one Saturday I was out there for 12 hours. That was with Dave helping. It lacks in horsepower. So the snows that we had last year, a little more moisture in them, wind driven. So that, I guess what I'm telling you is that snow blower sitting in Yankton, it's been gone through right now. I'm guessing it's probably worth about $80,000. To upgrade into the bigger snow blower, the size that the city of Yankton has out at their airport, it'll move any snow that Mother Nature can throw at it.
Which snowblower are you talking about? Dave's
Our
one
snow
on
blower,
tractor, our big orange.
the one for streets.
Okay.
So how that works is, and this is typically how it's been in the past, we will do the emergency snow routes in town first. And then after the emergency routes are done, we'll go out and we'll get to the airport and we'll take care of, at least get it so Dave can get a plane in or out. But last year, the last couple of years, that's kind of changed a little bit. The dynamics, everything's not quite the same as it was. We've got Guardian Flight out there. And so like last year, at one point, we had, I think, 3 patients that were waiting to get out, and the airport was closed. The other thing was, last year with the amount of snow that we have, we had to throw that snow over Dave's lights, because if he can't see the lights, he can't be open. So that no one can take off, no one can land. So that caused some issues on, you know, what we got to do to keep that airport open. That's where we're sitting with that. We got a piece of equipment that, then there's also been instances where we've had snows in the city of Winter that have been too wet. You know, 90% of the time that snow blower works fine. But we have had instances where we own the snow blower, it was sitting in our shop, but the snow was too wet and heavy. We had to haul it, we had to do it with loader and trucks. We could not blow it. It's just under horsepower. And we basically have 2 options. If we stick with that brand of snow blowers, we go up to a newer model of the same size, which has about 75 more horse, or we go to a size bigger, which is a 900 series, and that has almost 400 horse. That has about twice the horsepower of the one that we currently have. But the price tag's about $160 on a brand new 924, and ours is worth about, we could probably get about $80 for it.
The model that's 75 horsepower more than ours, what's the cost on that?
That one would be about $100,000. That's an 824, and that's what we have. It just has a newer series motor in it, higher horsepower, but it's the same size blower, same weight, same everything. And the bigger one, the 900 series, our loader will handle it.
You said,
Snowblower too, don't stick.
and you said 160, Troy?
But you're getting
160?
the tractor,
Yeah.
right?
Well, just a lease.
But will it have the front PTO so you can mount
We
it?
don't know that. He's gonna try and get us a 6R if he can.
'Cause I know that's what a lot of guys are doing now, instead of backing up, go forward. They say it makes it a world.
The tractor we have currently, the blower works, but it doesn't work well because it doesn't have a low enough rear gear, which you can actually put it in gear back into the snow. You have to slip the clutch the whole time. So it's kind of a pain to do it. We get some of it done for sure, but yeah, it's not really ideal.
The tractor you're getting, it's a per hour lease, right?
Right.
We talked
Yeah,
about that.
which, that was mostly just for moving the bigger aircraft that we're seeing now safely. So we may or may not never use that for that unless we need to put it on a blower or something. And then that's okay with everybody, we can do that, but. And that might help alleviate, you know, what you need to get done.
There's so
City
many,
blower too.
you got runway, plus you have hangar exits to get
Right.
planes out. There's several places to clean it that run, you know, it's not just go out and scoop a little snow across, it's,
Mhm.
there's a lot of snow.
Yeah. there's a lot of-
So some of this is needing to be discussed on the contractual side as well, because Dave doesn't have authority to hire a third party for snow removal if needed. So that's something that we wanna discuss in there too. He has approval for some things, but not other things, but
So the snow removal line item, 4250.003,
that's just him.
that is just Dave's.
That is correct.
Okay.
There's quite a few things on that
What's our
contract that
runway?
need to be
A mile and a half
updated.
long?